I've been working the model and details of this Secretary bookcase. The original was made by John and Thomas Seymour in about 1800. Here's a picture of the piece. The original exists in the White House. I have pictures of that from which I built the model. I also used a lot of information in a very good book, The Furniture Masterworks of John and Thomas Seymour by Robert Mussey Jr. That book has a lot of pictures. It only has one picture of this piece, but it has a lot of text and other pieces that John and Thomas Seymour made, and from that information I could create this model. There were some details that I had to guess. I wasn't sure of the sizing or the shape or the detail of it, and I did my best to do what I think the original cabinet makers did, and that was in about 1800. This piece is made up of 5 different independent structures. So I'll go through those independent structures, talk about the makeup of these elements. I'm showing it closed, the desk closed. I'm going to click on a couple tags here and open the desk. So I pulled back the Tambour drawers showing the pigeonholes and small drawers behind, and I've also hinged open the writing surface, and that writing surface is held by these supports that are drawn out from the carcass. Now, don't pay any attention to the colors that I used here. The color doesn't represent anything on the original. I was just trying to identify the bandings and some of the decoration without worrying about the actual arrangement of those details and coloring. However, the coloring of the inside of the pigeonholes should be robin eggs blue, because that's what John and Thomas Seymour used to paint the inside of these pigeonholes. Now, let's go through the 5 separate independent structures, starting with the lower case. This is the lower case opened. The writing surface is hinged down and supported here. Drawer structure is very typical, dovetails, locks. It has a fancy key escutcheon here that was shaped white in ivory. I don't know how I'll be doing that exactly. You can see the inlay work here, the leaf shapes, the bell flower leaf kind of decoration with some banding, and then some banding around the spade foot. And there is some molding that's fitted onto the back of the top here, and notice that there's a molding also on the bottom edge of the front. And so when I close that desk, then that molding matches up with that molding, and and also note this little socket here. This is called a well, and the tambour section slides in from the back into this well, and there's a register block on the bottom of the tambour assembly that sits down in that mortise to hold the upper part of the case in place. So that's the lower case with 3 drawers. And then the next part that sits on top of that lower case is the tambour assembly. And this is actually 2 independent boxes. There's an internal box and an outside box. So let me show you the inner box first. And this is that pigeonhole drawer assembly. It has its own top and bottom, and it has its own back. Has these nice arcs here with some stringing in here and some decoration up here. Again, don't pay any attention to those colors. The drawers are dovetailed in the original piece. So this structure then slides into the outer box, and here's the outer box empty of that inner box, and the tambour doors are open now. I can close those tambour doors. They slide in a slot that goes all the way around. The slots are in the top and bottom piece, and you can see the slot here in the front, and that goes right around, allowing this tambour to bend around and move in that slot. Now, there's something very unique about the Seymour pieces. It's the locking mechanism. So there's a way of locking the tambour closed. And I want to show a little bit about how that works. There's a lot of text in that book about how this is done. It's very innovative. Let me just edit and hide this column. Behind that column is a post. That post has some cutouts here, a groove. It has a groove, and within that groove is a brass post. I'm showing it in that color to distinguish it. And let me go to an X-ray view. That post goes right down and is welded to this locking lever here on the lock. And so that post goes up and down depending on whether it is locked or unlocked. So let me show the unlocked position, where this is down, the rod is down, and notice this gap here, and I will close the tambour doors. I'll close the doors, and on those doors is these brass pins. Actually, they're screws that are shaped, and they have a hole in in there. And so in the unlocked position, the post, this brass post, is not high enough to grab those pins. So if I go to a locked position, now the post is all the way up and protrudes through those pins that are attached to the tambour doors, and the case is locked up. So that's how that, I struggled with how that worked, but the book describes that quite well. Let me get rid of that X-ray view. Oh, I want to get rid of that. Okay. Now I'm back to where I was. You can see where these brass pins are on this bar that connects to the tambour, and that little brass pin goes right into that slot and catches on to the brass rod. Okay. That outer box is dovetailed. It needs to be held together quite well so that those tambour slots from the top and the bottom are lined. Let me show the alignment view of that track. Looking down on the top in X-ray, here's the 5/16 shape of that groove all the way around here, and then it's open back here so that you can insert or replace the tambour or repair it, whatever. Now, the next large independent structure is the bookcase. The bookcase has these glass doors, these muttons that separate the glass areas, and these Gothic arches. The muttons are made up of a top piece and then a back piece, and that creates a area for the glass to be set in and fastened. So there's also some very different painting done on the back of the glass. It's only, I've only seen it in this one piece. I forget, it's some French name of the special kind of paint, and it's not this color at all. It's just, I'm showing the shape that was used, the decorative shape. The doors have, well, one door has lock, the other door has some slide pins to hold it in place. And this is a dovetailed box with its own backing. There's a molding that's around the bottom of it. The last independent structure is the pediment. And this has these brass finials and some pedestals that make some kind of a classic shape with the crown molding here in several different pieces and shapes, and that just sits on the top of the bookcase. So those are the 5 independent pieces. I'll be starting to build the lower case that has this internal structure of drawer kickers and runners, and those, a lot of those pieces fasten into the, or protrude into the grooves in the back piece. I may have done a little bit different structure than of the drawer runners than the original piece. They nailed a lot of this stuff together, which I'm using some mortise and tenon joints to fasten these pieces. Also, the top rail, they did do this in the original piece, a double dovetail here in the top piece. I've got some slotted shank hole for screws for allowing that top piece to move in the weather. So that'll be my first construction in the shop.